Good morning, fifth graders, or good afternoon if you're watching this in the afternoon. What is it? It's Monday. What is the date today? Monday the 26th. April is almost over. Can you believe it? You guys are down to like 6 weeks, and then you're going to be sixth graders. It's been a great year, even though a very weird year. I think it's been a really good year. It's definitely one that's going to be memorable for you guys for a long time. All right, so let's think of how we ended last week. We ended last week with a quiz called Snow Cone Prep Quiz number 1. Okay, we're going to have 2 more quizzes. Some of you did okay. Some of you, I'm seeing now what we need more help with. That's one of the reasons teachers give quizzes, because it kind of gives me an idea what a lot of kids don't know. And then if a lot of kids get a question wrong, then I'll go over that more, and we can learn it before the real test, the big one, the Snow Cone Prep test number only. But the Snow Cone Test Prep actual test, which is going to be, remember, May 13th and 14th. So we still have a couple weeks to do that, which brings us to week 33, and then I'll get to what we're going to do today. Week 33 is I remember, I think. So now we're still looking at these flashcards. We're going to add the last 2 this week, and we're going to have 6 sets of flashcards. Then we're going to do a lot of different stuff with them. Maybe an OODA-loo, if you guys remember that. A Kahoot. I have a flashcard like thing that you can do online, so you can study them online if you don't have them or you don't want to do them with the blue paper. You can do them digitally. There's a lot of stuff that we'll eventually be doing with that, okay? So basically for math today, if I jump to slide 2, it's math quiz. If I'm 100% done, what do I do when I'm done, okay? So the main thing I want you guys to do today, Monday, is finish your math quiz. Now, I think 52 kids have turned it in, but there's 100 of you. Well, roughly 100. So that means there's about 40 kids that have not done their math quiz, okay, from last Friday, or didn't finish it or whatever. I'll also be giving out the 1 point for proof paper, so I'll be checking. You want to bring that proof paper to school. If you didn't bring it on Monday, you forgot, you didn't think about it. Bring it today to show Miss Lindsay and Miss Smith to collect it to get you your extra point, or bring it on Thursday, Friday. And then the kids in distance learning, well, I'll talk to them. They have to show me it, okay? But that extra point does matter. On an 11-point quiz, 1 point actually really does help. So what are you going to do when you're done with the math quiz today? What are you going to do? You're going to work on a cool assignment I made up last year called Jello Anyone. So I'm going to show you what this assignment looks like, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of math that goes with it. We're going to study our flashcards, and that'll be math for today. So let's take a look at the Jello Anyone. All right, this is what's called 3-act math. So what you do is on the first couple of slides, you just say what you notice and what you wonder. So notice and wonder. Doesn't really have to do with math. It can, but something you notice and wonder. Then you get the question, the main question that's going to be asked. Then you make an estimate, which is a guess or an educated guess. Then you collect information. And then you do a math problem, okay? So you're like, all right, that sounds good. So this one is on the pyramid at Giza. Look at the awesome pyramids. One of the things I was fascinated with as a kid, and I think would be so cool to go visit. So first slide, you're going to get this slide. Each of you will get your own slide. It says, what do you notice? Write at least one sentence and be specific. So you don't say, I notice a pyramid. Right, that's kind of lame. What are some things you notice about it or them, or where it's at, or something? One really good sentence. If you want to write a couple, that would be like bonus and awesome, okay? Then we go to the second slide. It says, what do you wonder? What are at least 2 things you wonder about the pyramids, or even about this picture? Oh, going back to here, there is a video you can watch. It's just a 3-minute video on the pyramids, and it's pretty cool. I did put it in there. So what are a couple of things you wonder about this picture or about the pyramids themselves? All right, now the main question is, how much Jello would it take to fill the Great Pyramid at Giza? How many packets of Jello? That's the question. And you're like, how are we supposed to figure that out? Well, let's think about it. And this is what we're going to go over the paper in a second. You guys have learned in 5th grade about volume, okay? Well, let's actually go back to 4th grade real quick. In 4th grade, you learned about something called area. Area is how much stuff can fit on, not in, but on a flat surface, right? So you have length times width, You get the measure of the length and width, and what do you do to the two numbers? Add them or multiply them. For area, multiply, right? You multiply the length and width, and you get the area. Well, the problem with that is you can't put anything inside. Do I have like a board or something? Even if I have this piece of paper, right? It's flat. You have a length and you have a width, but you don't have any height. So you could put stuff on here, set it on here, but you can't put it inside because if you go like this, it's going to slide off, right? So what you need is walls, right? You need a height. Once you have a height, you have something more like this, right? Because then we have a length, a width, length, a width, right? That's the bottom layer called the base or the area, and then you have the walls, or you have the height. How high is it? And of course, you could put stuff in it. It's measured usually in a cubic unit, right? Remember a Rubik's Cube, a length times width times height, right? A cubic unit for volume. That is not new. You know, based on right here, this flashcard number 1, that the volume is length. The formula for volume is length times width times height, or base, the bottom, the area, times how tall it is. Well, that is for a rectangular prism, meaning like a rectangle or a square, 3D called a cube. Yeah, that's right. That's what it's called. But what about a pyramid? So what we're going to find is how much Jello, volume, how much stuff can fit in something so huge. So let's go to the next one. Just randomly, without very much information, you make an estimate here. How many packets of Jello, like little box of Jello, once it's made, and you put the water in and it makes Jello, how many boxes of Jello would it take to fill the Great Pyramid at Giza? Make your guess there on that slide. Let me move myself up here. Then, what are 3 things you would need to know to find a volume? So what would you need to know? Now, this is the weird one. Think of it. What would you need to know in order to be able to see how much Jello there is? And then, wouldn't you have? I can't give out clues. Just what would you have to know? Type of 3 things here. Then it actually gives you the formula for a pyramid. So unlike a rectangular prism or a cube, which is length times width times height, this has, or remember, base times height. This has base times height, and then you divide it by 3. That's what 1/3 means. Remember, 1/3 of means actually times. But when you times something by 1/3, you're actually dividing by 3. You're like, wait, what? This is so hard. It's not. You'll be okay. Do some thinking, and it's kind of just a fun, neat assignment. So some things you're going to need to know is how tall is the Great Pyramid? Why? Because you need to know the height. You need to know the base. How big is the length and width of it so you can get the area of the base. And then you just take the area of the base, right? Times it by how high it is. And then you divide by 3. And you can do that on a calculator. That'll tell you what the volume, how much stuff can fit inside of the Great Pyramid. Then you have to figure out how big a box of Jello is, what the volume of a box of Jello is, how much it can make. And then what do you have to do to the 2? That is for you to figure out. And then you just put your final answer there. Okay? So let's dive over to our thing just so I can go over volume really quick with you again. Again, the main thing you're doing today is the math quiz. So this is what you work on when you're finished with the math quiz. Or you totally can do it, Miss Lindsay and Miss Smith, as a class if you would like to. And I'm not going to tell you the answer. You got to figure it out. I'll tell you guys tomorrow. All right, so let's dive over to our papers here. Camera. Okay, so what you see here is what I was saying, right? So our formula for volume for a rectangular prism, which is length times width times height equals volume, which you guys know. And I've told you to just go blank times blank times blank equals blank, right? Because then you can just fill in the numbers they give you. So let's say that this was a 3 by 2. Because remember, the other formula is base times height. So you just take the area, the bottom, and then you multiply it by how high it is. Okay, so that's base times height. They both will give you the volume. So on this one, look, if you add 3, it's really saying this. You have 1, 2, 3, and then you have 1. I know my drawing is horrible. I can't do it. But it's like on the bottom, you have a 3 by 2, right, which is 6. Let's say the height was 3 also. So then you get 6 times 3 is 18. But if we were to use the other formula, base times height, we just look at how many are on the bottom, 6. And then how tall is it? 3. You're still getting 18. But that is for, that'll probably be good for the Jello. Now, a lot of this you might want to look up on the internet. Okay, there's questions you could type into Google to ask what the volume of Jello is, how much Jello can fit in a certain spot, and then you can figure out. So the pyramid is 1/3, sorry, it's not the best drawn pyramid, but 1/3 base times height. So what you're going to want to do is find out how big is the Great Pyramid of Giza. So let's just say it was 10 feet by 10 feet. Now, of course, we know that's not 10 feet by 10 feet. It's much bigger. But if it was, the base would be 100, right? You'd multiply it by how tall is it? Let's say it's 100 feet tall. 100 times 100 is 1 times 1 is 1, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Okay, so that almost is the answer, but then whatever answer you get when you take the base times the height, you have to divide it by 3, taking 1/3 of it. So I would do that on my calculator. I'm not going to do it now, and then you'd get the volume for how much can fit inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. And then if you find the Jello, how much one box of Jello makes, you just have to see how many boxes of Jello would take to get enough to fill whatever this number is. It's a fun, interesting assignment. It's a challenge. I'm not expecting you all to just think that this is easy, but it's also not impossible, and it is done with math that you mostly understand. Okay, let's go through our flashcards really quick, and then I'm going to let you go. So, I already stole flashcard 1. This is flashcard 2. So every night, 5th graders, be studying these, because these are the kinds of problems that we're going to be doing all week all the way up to the snow cone prep test. So here, formula for volume. We just said it. Length times width times height, base times height. How many inches in a foot? 12. How many ounces in a pound? 16. How many meters in a kilometer? 1,000. How many centimeters in a meter? 100. All right, come on, you're on fire. Alex has 4 friends. They share 2 pizzas. What kind of problem is this? Stuff over people. How do you do this problem? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. How do you do prime factors? Yep, make the factor tree. How do you move on a coordinate grid? Over on the X, up on the Y. Page 2. What kind of problem is this? Repeated adding? Yep. Or put it over 1 and multiply straight across. What kind of problem is this? All fractions are division problems. 12 divided by 5. How about this one? Multiply straight across. How about this one? 4-box area model because it's multiplying. How about this one? Start with a whole number, end with the whole number. Start with a fraction, end with a fraction. Stack it. Easiest problem in 5th grade. How do you do this one? 3 divided by 4. Page 3. Oh, we have another one of these. Same one. I put it on there again. How do you do this one? Multiply straight across. How do you add or subtract decimals? Line up the decimal. How do you multiply? Ignore the decimal. Multiply normally. So it'd be 531 times 58, magic 0. Get your answer, called the product. Then count how many numbers are behind the decimal. There's 1, 2, 3. You'd move the decimal 3 and get your answer. How do you divide? Put the decimal straight up. Divide normally. What can go into both 9 and 12? Divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3. How do you do this problem? Oh, of means times. Take a part of a part. Morning, Mr. Gilroy. Welcome back.
In the middle of a presentation.
My video, yes.
Good morning, kids.
Good morning, Mr. Gilroy says good morning. He's out. He just walks away. He's disgusted. He'll be back. Yeah, I'll be done in like a minute. Okay, 10 to the 4th power is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which equals what? Yep, 10,000, and name 4 quadrilaterals, a square, a rectangle, a rhombus, a trapezoid, and a parallelogram. There's a bonus one. Okay, last page. Stick with me. What is a parallelogram? Oh, sorry. It is a 4-sided shape, a quadrilateral with 2 sets of parallel lines. What is the only 4-sided shape that is not a parallelogram? A trapezoid. Ignore this one for now. Here we go. What kind of triangle? Right triangle. All the sides are the same. Equilateral. 2 of the sides are the same. Isosceles. No sides the same. Scalene. How do you make a line plot? You make a line. You put in the things, and then you just put X's above how many of each there are. Best thing to do on this one is just look. You see, there were 2 1 1/4, 1 2, 1 2.5. Remember, all the answers are on the back. Now this you better know. This comes out of 2nd grade. Come on, 2nd, 3rd grade. Product means times. Quotient means divide. Sum means add. Difference means subtract. All right, this looks weird, but this is just your place value. Where is the letter E? E is what? Well, Mr. Manderfeld only asked you to ever memorize the number behind the decimal, right here, this one, called the 1/10. So what's after the 1/10? The 1/100. Should have been 100. Finally, 2-second problems. If you multiply by 1,000, you just got to move the decimal how many times? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If you divide by 100, you just got to move the other decimal how many zeros? 1, 2. The other way, 2. 1, 2. Finally, I'm not going to tell you the answer to this one, but there's something missing here. See if you guys can figure out what it is. All right, so that is what we have for today. Thank you for being great listeners. I'm excited to see what you guys put for, whoa, signed out. I don't want to mess with that. How to see what you guys are going to, yes, what you're going to get for how much Jello goes in the Great Pyramid, and finish that math quiz, okay? Have a great day. See you Wednesday.